Let's start with something that might sound ridiculous. If you act like you don't care, she'll chase you. Sounds like one of those lazy internet cliches, right? And yet, it's based on real psychological triggers. The truth is, most men approach attraction backwards. They chase, they impress, they perform, and in doing so, they erase the very mystery and tension that creates obsession. Not interest, obsession. This video isn't about tricks in the manipulative sense. It's about understanding deep, often unseen psychological dynamics that shape how women perceive emotional power. These are principles rooted in presence, contrast, timing, and control. And when you apply them, not to fake something, but to refine yourself, you become the kind of man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't push. He draws. Attraction isn't logical. It's not about what you say, it's about how she feels when she's around you, and even more importantly, how she feels when you're not around. The men women obsess over don't always look the best or say the perfect words. They simply understand how to tap into the subtle emotional patterns most guys never even notice. Before we get started, here's a simple question. What's the most attractive thing a woman has ever told you? Something you didn't expect? Drop it in the comments. And if you're really tuned in right now, write the word valor somewhere in your response. That one word tells me you're not just watching, you're absorbing. Let's get into it. Most men are terrified of silence. They treat it like a threat, something awkward, something to fix. But a man who understands psychology knows that silence, used intentionally, is one of the most powerful tools for creating intrigue. When used correctly, it doesn't push her away, it pulls her in. Because silence doesn't say, "I don't care." It says, "I don't need to fill space to be valuable." The average guy rushes to keep conversation going. He responds instantly. He fills every pause with noise, jokes, reassurance, compliments. Why? Because he's afraid of what silence might reveal. Insecurity, rejection, disinterest. But the man who can sit in silence, who can hold a pause without flinching, signals something different. He signals certainty. He signals power. Imagine you're on a date. She finishes a thought. Most men would jump in, trying to keep things fun. But you simply hold the moment. Maybe you give her a half smile. Maybe you look her in the eye without saying a word. That micro silence, it breaks her rhythm. It makes her feel something. It forces her to pay attention. And that emotional shift is the root of obsession. Not what you say, but what you make her feel through what you don't. Silence also forces contrast. It makes your words more meaningful. When you're not always talking, she starts to lean in when you do. She starts wondering what you're thinking. That mystery, that tension between her curiosity and your control is what creates psychological pull. You stop being the man who's trying to win her over. You become the man she's trying to read, and here's where most men fail. They confuse silence with disinterest. So they overcorrect. They talk more, they text more, they follow up too quickly. And in doing so, they flatten the tension. A man who uses silence with intention isn't ignoring her. He's guiding the pace. He's showing that he can lead a moment without needing to dominate it. Silence isn't just about talking less. It's about doing less when she expects more. She sends a vague text. Don't rush to respond. She teases you to get a rise. Don't bite. She looks to you to carry the interaction. Let the space hang for a moment. That pause makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability, when balanced with control, is intoxicating. Remember, attraction isn't built in comfort. It's built in contrast, and silence creates that contrast when every other man is talking too much, chasing too fast, giving too easily. You stand still. You stay calm. You say little, and yet you say everything. Because silence, when used well, isn't emptiness. It's presence. And presence is what she remembers when you're no longer in the room. Most men listen to what a woman says. Smarter men watch what she does. But the rarest and most magnetic men go a step further. They mirror her behavior, not her words. Why? Because people, especially women, often say one thing while feeling another. Attraction doesn't form from agreement, it forms from alignment, and alignment is best built by matching her emotional cues, not just responding to her statements. When a woman feels uncertain, she may act cold or detached while still being curious. If you respond only to her words, "I'm not really looking for anything serious," and either withdraw or try to talk her into something else, you've already missed the mark. But if you mirror her emotional posture, casual, calm, open-ended, you stay in sync without pressure. That sync is subtle, but it keeps you in the game longer than any clever response ever will. Mirroring behavior is about reading energy. If she's joking lightly, you meet her there, not by copying her exactly, but by matching the tempo and tone. If she slows down, you slow down. If she becomes more open and vulnerable, you slightly open up. Not too much, just enough to meet her pace. This shows emotional intelligence. It signals that you're tuned in, not just reciting lines. Here's an example. She sends a short, distant message after a good date. Most men would panic, respond quickly, over-clarify, or try to recapture the vibe with more effort. But a man who mirrors behavior doesn't chase energy that has changed. He responds with equal tone, short, composed, non-reactive. That calm matching shows her you're not emotionally dependent. You're watching, not reacting. This technique also prevents you from giving too much too soon. When you mirror her behavior, you only escalate interest as she does. You're not over-investing. You're not leading with vulnerability when she's still feeling you out. That patience creates trust. That pacing creates curiosity. And both are essential for long-term psychological tension. Mirroring also reveals your own standard. If her behavior becomes low effort, inconsistent, or disrespectful, and you mirror that with silence or distance, you're not punishing her. You're communicating clearly. I match energy, not chase it. That alone shifts how she sees you. You're not emotionally reactive, you're emotionally selective. Stoicism teaches exactly this kind of discipline. It's not passive, it's responsive. It says, I observe first, then act. When a woman sees that you're not easily pulled out of your frame by her moods, her words, or her signals, she starts to wonder why. She starts to respect it, and eventually she starts to pursue it. So stop listening to just her words. Watch her, match her. Let her feel that you're aware, stable, and not swayed by surface-level signals. Mirroring behavior isn't about manipulation, it's about emotional fluency. And when a man speaks that language with calm clarity, he becomes the one she thinks about after the conversation ends. One of the fastest ways to lose a woman's interest, especially early on, is to give her too much of your emotional world too quickly. Not because vulnerability is wrong, but because unearned emotional availability feels like neediness, not connection. Women respect and obsess over men who reveal themselves slowly, deliberately, and only when it's earned through consistent energy, not just chemistry. Being selectively emotionally available means you're not emotionally shut off, but you're not emotionally open to everyone. You protect your internal world the way a disciplined man protects his time, his energy, and his standards. And when a woman senses that emotional access to you is a privilege, not an automatic right, something inside her locks in. He's not like the others. Here's where most men go wrong. The second a woman shows interest, they overshare. They talk about past wounds, past relationships, childhood traumas, all in an effort to seem deep and connected. But real depth isn't about dumping. It's about control. Stoic men aren't emotionally unavailable. They're emotionally structured. They speak when it matters. They reveal pieces slowly, and that pacing builds both respect and psychological pull. Take this example. She asks about something personal early on. Instead of deflecting or flooding her with detail, you give her a calm, meaningful surface answer. Yeah, I've been through some things that shaped how I move. Maybe I'll tell you more sometime. That response is honest but reserved. It tells her, there's more, but you don't get it all right away. That mystery, it sticks. This boundary also protects you. When you give someone full access too soon, you lose leverage. You invest emotionally without knowing if they've earned your trust, your attention, or your vulnerability. And once you give that away, it's hard to pull back. Selective availability ensures that you decide who gets what version of you and when. More importantly, selective availability triggers a deeper psychological dynamic: investment. People value what they work to understand. When a woman has to earn more of you over time, she becomes more emotionally engaged in the process. And the more emotionally invested she becomes, the more obsessed she can grow, not with what you gave her, but with what she's still trying to reach. Stoicism gives you the edge here. It teaches emotional clarity. It keeps you from speaking just to fill silence. It reminds you that your feelings aren't tools to attract, they're indicators of self-awareness. And when you own them, without throwing them out freely, you keep your center strong and your presence impactful. So stop thinking vulnerability equals openness at all times. Vulnerability is powerful when it's earned. Be emotionally present but not emotionally exposed. Let her feel that she's discovering you, not consuming you. Because the man who gives access slowly and with purpose becomes the one she can't stop thinking about, because she knows she hasn't seen all of him yet. The fastest way to stand out in a woman's mind is to break the rhythm she's used to, and then leave space for her to feel it. Most women are used to predictable interactions. Guys who compliment them, text nonstop, seek approval, follow the same boring conversational beats. It's safe, expected, and forgettable. But when a man interrupts that pattern, then steps back, he becomes something her mind keeps circling back to. Pattern interruption is a well-known psychological tool. It works because the human brain is wired to notice disruption. When something doesn't go as expected, attention locks in. In dating, this means doing something simple but uncommon. Not chasing when she expects it, ending an interaction on your terms, asking a deeper question when she thought you'd flirt, or simply going silent right after high engagement. Imagine this. You have a strong moment, good conversation, shared laughter, emotional connection. Most men would try to extend that moment, ride the wave, keep pushing. But you end it instead. I've got to go, but this was a good vibe. Then, you disappear. No needy follow-up, no double texts, just absence. And now her emotional rhythm is broken. Her mind, expecting attention, is left with tension. That tension is the seed of obsession. Stoicism gives you the control to do this naturally. You're not disappearing as a tactic, you're stepping back because you're already full. Your life is already moving. She doesn't become your focus, you become hers because you shifted her emotional pattern and gave her space to feel it. The mystery wasn't in what you said, it was in what you didn't say next. Pattern interruption can also be conversational. If she's used to shallow talk, you hit her with something real. Not heavy, but thoughtful. Something like, what do you value more, comfort or purpose? Now she's off script. She can't give a rehearsed answer. You've moved her out of autopilot. That one disruption can make you more memorable than 3 hours of smooth small talk. And here's the key, don't explain it. Don't follow up with disclaimers, long texts, or just checking in messages. Let the interruption sit. Let her notice the silence. Let her feel the energy shift. That discomfort, that curiosity, that's not rejection. It's emotional impact. She may not chase you right away, but she's thinking about you. And that's exactly where you want to be. Remember, people don't obsess over what's predictable. They obsess over what disrupts them and then disappears. So interrupt her emotional rhythm, then vanish. Not to manipulate, but to remind her, you're not like the others. You don't give endlessly. You offer impact, then you return to your life. And that space you leave behind, that becomes the place where she replays you again and again. Women don't get obsessed with men who try too hard. They get obsessed with men who make them feel something without forcing it. And one of the most misunderstood elements of attraction is tension. Not conflict, not drama, but emotional tension. The kind that builds when a man is fully present, deeply calm, and doesn't need to perform to be noticed. It's not what you say. It's how you exist in the moment that matters. Most guys try to impress. They overtalk, overshare, overdo. They confuse energy with effectiveness. But true presence is restrained. It's focused, slow, and deliberate. When a man is in his body, aware of his tone, posture, eye contact, when he doesn't rush to fill silences or sell himself, he creates tension without even meaning to. And that tension stays with her. Think about it. You're on a date. She leans in with a flirty question. Most men would take the bait, escalate the vibe, push for more. But you pause. You look at her, not with hunger but curiosity. Maybe you smile, maybe you hold eye contact for just a little longer than normal. And then you shift the subject. That micro moment of unexpected control, that's tension. It tells her, I'm here, but I'm not yours yet. This type of tension doesn't come from aggression. It comes from discipline. When you're not rushing to win her, when you're comfortable in stillness, she has to lean in to figure you out. That imbalance, the space between her curiosity and your composure, is what drives obsession. Not through manipulation, but through energy. Presence also means you're not distracted. You're not looking at your phone, scanning the room, or waiting for the next moment to impress. You're with her, fully, but not overwhelmed. That balance of attention without need is incredibly rare, and it's felt, not explained. You don't have to say you're different. She feels it in how still and unshaken you are. Stoicism is the foundation here. It gives you the emotional framework to resist the urge to perform, to be grounded no matter what's said or done. When she tests your confidence, you don't flinch. When she pulls away slightly, you don't chase. That unwavering presence creates emotional contrast, and contrast is the fuel of desire. Tension is not about withholding affection. It's about pacing it. It's knowing when to engage and when to step back. It's having the awareness to see when she's leaning in emotionally and giving her just enough to keep wondering. That wonder becomes emotional tension. That tension becomes obsession. So stop trying to impress her with effort. Impress her with control. Impress her with calm. Let your presence speak more than your performance ever could. Because in the quiet space between what she sees and what she feels, she starts to imagine you. And in that imagination, you become unforgettable. Long after the texts stop, after the date ends, after the interaction fades, what stays isn't the conversation. It's the feeling you left behind. That's your emotional signature. And if you understand this one principle, you'll realize that obsession isn't built during the interaction. It's built after it, in her mind. When you leave the right energy, you don't have to be around for her to keep thinking about you. Most men focus on the moment, what to say, what to do, how to act. But the rare man, the stoic, grounded, emotionally intelligent man, thinks about what he wants to be remembered for. He isn't trying to be the funniest or the most charming. He's trying to create an emotional imprint that lingers. Because the men women can't forget are the ones who made them feel something they weren't expecting. So how do you do it? You move with intention. You speak with weight. You don't rush to impress. You don't seek validation, and you don't try to be everything. Instead, you be something specific. Are you calm? Be the calmest man she's been around. Are you focused? Let her feel how undistracted you are. Are you deeply observant? Reflect something back to her that she didn't even know was visible. Here's a real-world example. She's used to men being reactive. She teases, they chase. She withdraws, they lean in harder. But you observe, smile slightly, and say nothing. You're unfazed. That stillness, that restraint creates a new emotional reference point. It tells her, this man feels different. And that difference becomes memory. This emotional signature isn't loud. It's subtle. It's in how you say goodbye. It's in the moment you pause before leaving, look her in the eye and say, "You're interesting. I like that." And then you walk away. No need to prove. No need to follow up instantly. That last moment becomes the frame she hangs the whole interaction on. Stoicism sharpens this skill. It teaches that how you exit matters more than how you enter. Because anyone can start strong, few know how to end in a way that resonates. When you leave her with a sense of calm, mystery, or unexpected emotional spark, you plant the seed of obsession. It grows when she's alone, when she's quiet, when she's trying to figure out why she still feels you. Let every interaction be intentional. Ask yourself, what emotion am I leaving behind? Is it peace? Is it strength? Is it mystery? Whatever it is, make it yours. Because once you start leaving emotional fingerprints on people instead of just making an impression, you don't need to chase anything. You become the thought she returns to, again and again and again. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need the best lines or the best looks. What you need is presence, restraint, intent, because obsession isn't built by trying harder. It's built by being less available, more grounded and unforgettable in the energy you leave behind. A man who understands psychological tension doesn't chase it. He becomes it. These 6 principles aren't surface-level tricks. They're patterns of behavior that separate you from every other man she's encountered. Not because you're louder, but because you're more defined. You move with purpose. You reveal slowly. You let silence speak. And when you step back, you leave just enough behind to keep her thinking. If this resonated, if you're ready to stop trying and start being, type valor in the comments. It tells me you're not just consuming content, you're applying it. And that's what we're building here at Aaron Valoris. Clarity, control, and quiet strength. Stick around. We're just getting started.